Hey Toy fans, D21 Beast Rob here on the eve of X-Men Apocalypse releasing in the United States. I just got out of seeing the movie, I absolutely enjoyed it. I don't know that it's as good as X-Men Days of Future Past or even X2, but I think those online critics have been incredibly harsh on this film and you definitely want to go check it out. But after I saw that movie, I felt inspired, and if you guys have been following my channel for a while, you'll know that I've actually had a Weapon X Wolverine figure in package from way back when he first released. And I've always been waiting for just the right special occasion to go ahead and open them. And after watching X-Men Apocalypse, I feel like now is as good a time as any. So here we have him, the Series 7 Weapon X Wolverine figure released by Toy Biz. This figure does come in the standard clamshell packaging that we're used to seeing with Toy Biz Marvel Legends figures. Very collector friendly, if you're wanting to keep your figures mint in box. The package touts that this figure features 34 points of articulation, it's got that classic Marvel Legends logo, and it even lets you know that there's going to be a custom poster book and display stand available with this figure. Flipping the package around, we've got that classic Toy Biz era Marvel Legends power rankings chart, with artwork on the left that appears to be Mark Silvestri. Let me know in the comments below if you know for sure. We've got a bio for the figure, and down below that we've got a complete lineup of all the other figures that were available in this wave. Alright bub, well that's the packaging. Let's say we get this mutilated berserker out of the box and see what he's all about. Alright Toy fans, here we have Weapon X out of the packaging, or if you're a fan of Grant Morrison's run on X-Men, Weapon 10. But this figure is just oozing with 90s nostalgia. Now right off the bat I'm noticing this figure's body mold appears to be the same one that was used for the new X-Men Wolverine figure and even the X-Men Days of Future Past Marvel Legends Wolverine. At least from the torso up. Now as far as which one's the chicken and which one's the egg, I have no idea to be honest. But this version of Wolverine is definitely getting a lot more detail than we saw on those figures. Taking a look up close at the head, you can see that we have an excellent painted and sculpted detail for the Weapon X helmet. I love the sort of metallic red paint in the visor, but there's all sorts of wash work going on the actual helmet itself to make it look like it's actually metal. Tons and tons of sculpted detail. The hair has actually been sculpted very nicely around the head for this figure, and there's even a wash on the hair as well to kind of give darker and lighter brown tones. Coming down the figure, we've got these nodules that have actually been added to the figure, different from what we saw with the new X-Men Wolverine X-Men Classics figure and with the Days of Future Past Wolverine figure. We've got the painted hair detail, just like we saw with the new X-Men Wolverine, but they've actually painted the veins on this figure as well, which is a nice touch. He's got dirty fingers on the hands, and his fingernails are actually longer because, you know, he's been trapped in a tube for a long time. He's got these actual tubes coming out of the back of his hand that are actually removable, that plug into these battery packs that are wonderfully painted with tons of detail. Really just a phenomenal looking figure. We've got the trunks on this figure. Again, painted detail there. Coming down the figure, we've got more of the sculpted veins in the legs. We've got hair detail on the actual shins of the legs. And on the back of the figure, we've got more of those nodules. Now, these are separate pieces. As I was messing around with it, I did discover that they can pull out. Of course, it's not doing it for me now. There we go. But they are meant to be glued in. I like that they are separate pieces, though, because if you try to plug in the tubes on his actual Weapon X base, we don't have to worry about any sort of paint scratching or anything like that. So, a nice touch there. But on top of this great detail that this single figure has, we actually have an interchangeable head for this figure as well. You can actually pull off the tubes on the figure's body. And once you have all of those cables removed, you can actually plug on an alternate Wolverine head. And this head looks truly phenomenal. A lot better than the head that we saw with the Wolverine and Forge 2-pack from Hasbro many years later. There's all sorts of sculpted detail from the wrinkles on his face to the actual hair detail. Again, we're getting the wash with the lighter and the brown colored hair. There's very clean paint inside the mouth of this figure. Really just incredible sculpting and detail. Now let's take a look at the detail on the display base for this figure. Lots of great sort of metal and copper and bronze detail. We've got some green wiring and even some green paneling. Coming down, we've got the tube that's got sort of the dirty green liquid that's been painted inside. We've got the tubes that plug onto the nodules on the Wolverine figure. And then coming down even further, we've got sort of a screen readout, I guess, that we're seeing the backside of. We've even got some knobs and switches and dials on the front of this base. Really just an incredible looking piece. Rotating it around, you can see that detail does continue at least 3 sides of it. The back's pretty plain, unfortunately. As we come down, you're going to see that it's just very flat on the back. But we have some excellent sculpted detail on the top of this item. Very, very cool. And again, it's continued onto the sides of this item as well. But it's worth noting that there aren't actually any foot pegs for this display piece. And that actually leads to my only real complaint about this Weapon X test tube. Standing next to this test chamber, Wolverine looks just a little bit too big. And the test chamber is pretty shallow. It would have been really cool if this display was just a bit larger, and you could actually fit your Wolverine figure inside. But as you can see here, when I try to cram them in and plug the tubes on, it just doesn't look quite right. But the fun doesn't stop there. If this had been a Hasbro Legend, the display base and these accessories would have been more than we ever could have dreamed of. But this is a Toy Biz Legend, so we're getting a poster book too. That's right, a poster book, not a comic book. Yes, this Weapon X Wolverine figure comes with the exact same poster book that was available in the X-Men Legends box set from Toy Biz many years ago. The same box set that included a lab coat Beast, a leather-coated Gambit, and that infamously awful Rogue figure. Thank God we're finally getting a new version of her this year. But I'm really puzzled as to the inclusion of this poster book. This is actually my second version of it because I have the X-Men box set, and all it is just some random art images, I guess, of other figures that were available in that large box set. Now I wonder, if you look at the back of this packaging, why Toy Biz chose to include a prototype image of this figure with Wolverine number 48. The first issue that was sort of a sequel to the classic Barry Windsor Smith run of Weapon X comics from the Marvel Presents series. Heck, come to think of it, why even include Wolverine 48 when they could have included any one of those classic Barry Windsor Smith issues featuring the Weapon X origin story? I mean, a poster book is nice and all, but come on, don't we want to know more about the figure that we're actually buying? Articulation-wise, Weapon X is certainly no slouch. He's got a head that'll bend down very nicely, and not really back so far. The hair sculpt is kind of a hindrance for that, and you have the same issue with the helmeted head. He looks left and right very nicely. Full rotation here at the shoulder. Now, it doesn't bend up as far as I'd like, but you can just rotate that joint if you want his arm to go higher. Upper bicep swivel, double jointed elbows. He's got a rotation sort of mid-forearm. He's got a hand that'll bend in that far and back that far, and of course that aforementioned finger articulation. He's got an ab crunch that kind of moves just a little bit and back about as much. He's got full rotation here at the waist. Ball jointed hips so his leg can go forward that far. They can go back only about that far. Out from the body pretty nicely. He's got upper thigh swivel, double jointed knees. A bit of an interesting joint too. It doesn't close in all the way. He's got a shin rotation, and then he's got a foot that has a curious joint. It'll go down very far, up very far, and it's got sort of a pivot in there, but it's kind of a weird sort of loose rocking foot as you can see here. Very different from what we've seen before from either Toy Biz or Hasbro. And then he's got toe articulation, which is largely superfluous, but you know, it's there if you want it. But really, overall, a great range of articulation for this Weapon X figure. Height-wise, this Weapon X figure only stands about 5¼ inches tall, which is honestly perfect for a Wolverine figure. Now, I would love to go through my litany of Wolverine figures and kind of show you a size comparison, but I'm in the middle of a move and most of them are packed. So here he is compared to a pint of mayo. What the fuck? Alright, toy fans, well that's my review of the Marvel Legends Series 7 Weapon X Wolverine figure released by Toy Biz. Overall, Weapon X is a gem of a figure from a bygone era. Toy Biz really killed it with the sculpting and design for this figure. The paintwork is nice, the accessories are perfect. I really only have a complaint about the Weapon X test tube chamber, just wish it was a little bit bigger. But Toy Biz certainly checked all the right boxes for fans of 90s X-Men, and more specifically, 90s Wolverine. Now, if you're a younger Marvel Legends collector and you're just getting started, this figure may not be for you. It's a rather specific version of Wolverine, and it wouldn't really make sense to line him up with all the rest of your Avenger figures. But if you're an X-Men diehard like I am, you really owe it to yourself to pick this figure up. Definitely check him out. Well, thanks for watching this review, toy fans. I hope you enjoyed it. Since this review is sort of meant to celebrate X-Men Apocalypse, let me know in the comments below. Did you like the movie? Who is your favorite X-Man? And hey, if you enjoyed this review, go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up. It really helps me out. And for every like you give me, Wolverine actually gets one more memory back. Well, that may not be exactly true, but you never know until you try, right? In the meantime, be sure to keep up with me on Twitter and Instagram at D21Beast, and I'll see you guys next time.